name's John Cordy, and are you tired of hammering paintings to the wall and hammering sort of glass frames and sticking stuff to stuff? If that's you and that's the story of your life, I want to introduce you to Velcro, a new product from the guys in Switzerland, and with these two hook and fast loops and hook and loop systems and heavy duty stick on stuff, you can stick stuff together without having to stick a nail through it, obviously. Today I've got a coffee, I've got the FM3, I've got an HX Stomp, and I was asked on my channel recently, and I think I've been asked a couple of times on Instagram and stuff, are you permanently FM3 now, or questions like that, or how come you still use the HX Stomp, or how come you still use the Helix, or questions like this. So I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about choices, and for most of us, when we talk about gear or things like that, most of us are making a choice between a couple of things. Maybe 10 years ago or 7 years ago, whatever it was, you'd have a choice between an Axe-Fx, a Kemper, and the newfangled Helix at the time. Moving on to modern day, you've got things like the Boss GT1000 and the Boss GT1000 Core now. You've got things like the Hotone Ampero, the Headrush Gigboard, loads and loads of other things. I've got a Moore Live preamp up there that's never been opened since lockdown. I ordered it. I didn't order it. I bought it from a guy in Switzerland, and that arrived around lockdown, but I never have opened it, which is weird. But yeah, the Strymon Iridium for the people that want a real simple solution, and I probably missed a few. The Podgo, which is kind of similar to the HX Stomp but different. Basically, we're making choices. If we are choosing to go down that modeler path or route, or you could make a choice to get something like the Torpedo Captor X and use that with your real amps. Choices, that's what I'm saying. My focus on the channel is predominantly actually kind of playing, and so I'll reach for gear that is going to simply let me do the job, unless it's like a specific demo for a pedal that I've just got and I think I want to play that and talk about that or whatever, or a guitar. Most of the time I'm wanting to just plug in something, get the tone that I want, and not have to worry about tweaking too much. That's one of the reasons that I really like the Iridium, and that's one of the reasons that I really like the HX Stomp, where I've got it to. The Fractal FM3, I can't say I've got to that stage yet with it where it's kind of effortless to find sounds that I want, or find tones that I'm completely happy with, whereas in the HX Stomp there's quite a few presets that I've put together that I do really like, and that I don't really feel like tweaking, and I just play with them, and so that's kind of that sweet spot that I want to be in. The FM3, obviously this was the first piece of Fractal audio gear that I'd ever come across or touch, so the interface is new, the cab kind of selection stuff is new, and also the amount of different parameters and different pages of parameters is new as well. I guess all of those things are standing potentially in the way of me and my ideal tone, or you could see them as kind of potential building blocks to my ideal tone. But either way, to say that on the FM3 I'm not sure that I've got tones that I like quite as much as the Helix stuff yet. So there's no great scandal, that's just the reason I use both. The other thing is that I sort of see myself as defending the Helix in some way. There's quite a bit of snobbery, I think, that goes around on the internet. I see around the place quite a lot that people will just naturally kind of assume that anything will sound better than a Helix, and I'm not exactly sure where that comes from. I know maybe there's people that have had trouble getting the tones that they wanted out of Helix or an HX Stomp. I've also read similar things maybe from the FM3 Axe-Fx world, but maybe slightly less so because there's a bit of a higher price tag, so that barrier to entry, people might not choose an Axe-Fx or an FM3 as their very first modeler. The learnings and mistakes and all that sort of stuff that you've made with your Helix or whatever else you've had, you can then apply. So that's one of the things that I'm finding with playing with lots of different modelers, is that you start to learn little bits of technique and stuff that can work with each of them. So things like using the same cab twice but with two different mic configurations, things like that. Things like putting a chorus after a delay and before a reverb, for Eric Johnson kind of sparkly chorusy delay stuff. So yeah, there's plenty of people out there that will assume that you can get great tones out of an Axe-Fx and FM3. I think there's a chunk of the internet to be won over, I guess is what I feel like with the Helix and HX Stomp stuff. And maybe there's a chunk of people that have a Helix and HX Stomp and haven't necessarily found the tones that they wanted yet. So that's kind of my position. If I can find the tones that speak to me, and then I play with those sounds, and then they inspire some sort of music or whatever, that's the idea. And then potentially people can find that stuff on the internet and go, oh, I didn't realise the HX Stomp or the Helix could sound like that. Or, you know, in comparison videos, they might pick a sound and think, oh, that I thought that was the Fractal FM3 or whatever, and then it turns out to be the Helix. That's the thing that I like to see, is people that go, oh, I didn't realise my Helix could sound like that. So that's sort of part of the motivation for using the Helix and the HX Stomp more. Aside from just being more comfortable with them, I feel like there's a little bit more of a win there, where I can show people these things do actually still sound good. I guess there's also a chunk of us that already know that, but yeah, that's what it is. But yesterday, my second K-line showed up, and so I wanted to do some playing. So I did a load of playing through the FM3. I did one take through the HX Stomp just to show you kind of the thing that I like with the HX Stomp, the tone, and then some other tones that I've got with the FM3 that I'm pretty happy with. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy some of the playing. The presets for the Fractal FM3 will be in the description if you want them, if you do like the way they sound. There's a buy me a coffee link. Just use that and say, could you send me the FM3 presets, and I'll be happy to do so. I've put together a new Eric Johnson one based on the Cliffs of Dover preset that's built in there. I went in and made some tweaks because there's like the plexi settings and delays and these things that aren't really quite what Eric does, based on what I've seen. So I tweaked that, and I was playing around with that this morning, so I think that video would have already been up by the time you watch this. But so I've had some fun with the FM3 last night. If you're worried and you're on the wait list for one and you're thinking, is there a reason that you don't use it? If you're trying to make a choice between an FM3 and HX Stomp, I think probably there's a large majority of people that would be able to get great results out of both. So yeah, I wouldn't sweat it too much. Obviously the FM3 is a little bit pricier than the HX Stomp. It does, I think, have some kind of more delay capabilities and reverbs and stuff like that I really enjoy those. But that's not to say that you can't get great stuff out of the HX Stomp, and to be honest with you, that's what I go for more than I go for the FM3, and for the reasons that I've just said. But anyway, if you've got your FM3, your Axif X3, those presets are available. I think I just added another tier on Patreon where you can get all my presets as well for any device. So if you just send me a message on Patreon if you want any of the stuff, I'll send that over. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you want the backing tracks, they'll be on Patreon as well. But thanks for stopping by. That's the reason that you don't see the FM3 all the time. So yeah, I'm a big fan of